and frantically Googling, and it's like, try standing in these different positions so you have better access and all of these things. Nothing is working. And like, I've tried everything. I'm like, okay, I have to get someone to pull this out.
But the fact that you were able to find on Google like an answer to this problem, even though it didn't work for you, means that other women have had this problem. Other women have experienced
There's multiple Reddit threads on it. Like, I'm on Reddit, like all the things.
Welcome to the Truth and Fertility podcast. My name is Haley and I am your host. I work at an OBGYN clinic where I teach women and couples how to chart their cycles so they can either achieve or avoid pregnancy and also to manage their fertility. I have a huge passion to teach women and couples about the beauty of their fertility and how the pill is never the answer to women's health. There's a lot of good and not so good information out there about fertility. And so my goal with this podcast is to help you sort out the truth from the weeds. I want to teach you how to chart your cycle and to reach your family planning goals while also maybe even possibly locating hormonal imbalances and to receive proper treatment. I want to help you get in the best hands that you can with the best doctors that you can to reach optimal reproductive health. So if you're ready to get on this journey with me to learn more about your reproductive system, how it was created and how it should be working, and the best medicine in order to make it work if it's not, then you are in the right place.
My good friend, Allison, she is a friend, and then she turned into my nanny for my kids, and now she's my client for natural family planning stuff. And so last time I had a scheduled meeting with her for like client NFP, fertility awareness-based method stuff, she had to reschedule. And she gave me a very brief text message saying that she was in the ER, everything's okay, but that she couldn't meet that night. And I was like, okay, you told me you're okay, so I'm glad to hear you're okay. And so we just decided to reschedule. I had no idea what happened. I was just like, okay, if we need to reschedule, that's fine. So we rescheduled, and when we met back, or when we rescheduled, when we actually finally got to meet, she told me this phenomenal story. And while she's telling me this story, I'm literally thinking to myself, this has to be a story that the world knows. Like, because of how much joy and laughter it gave me. And it has everything to do with fertility. And that is what this podcast is all about. So today I am introducing my friend Allison, and she is just going to walk us through this experience she had in the ER. And it's going to be great. We're going to actually learn a whole lot from this experience. It's a learning experience. So anyways, I have been talking a lot. Allison, I want you to introduce yourself, and then why don't you just go straight into your story?
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Allison, and I'm so excited to share this story with you guys. I feel like we just have to get into it because it's just, even to give any hints, it's just too funny.
No, yeah.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this. I'm so excited. I have told so many of my friends and pretty much everyone I know this story because it brings everyone so much joy.
Who knew an ER visit could bring so much joy? Anyways.
Who knew?
Yeah.
So I have all my life. I mean, we're going to start out straight TMI, and it will continue to get more TMI. So I think everyone's used to it if they listen to these podcasts. So just fair warning to anyone listening. So I've used tampons all my life, like the average woman. Great. They never made me feel great, and I never loved them, and I always noticed I would cramp more with them and whatever. So I was super intrigued by menstrual cups. Loved the premise of them, loved that they were like a little bit more non-toxic, seemed to be a little bit better for you. Great. I had a friend who used one, talked me into it. Phenomenal. So I've been using a menstrual cup for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I've had my ups and downs with it, but truly, I
Actually,
love it.
I'm so sorry. Can I just pause you right there? What is a menstrual cup? Because there might be some people listening to this and
Yes.
saying, what in the holy heck is a menstrual cup? So
Yes.
start there. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will give you my definition of how I would explain it, not to say this is like a legit definition of a menstrual cup. So, a menstrual cup, you insert it into your vagina and it sits in there, and it's like a literal cup that sits in there and collects the blood when you're on your period. And then you take it out and dump out the blood, wash the cup, and you can insert again. So the beauty of it is it can stay in for like 8 to 12 hours.
And it's
So
made of
generally,
silicone.
yes, it's silicone.
Yep.
There's some that are disposable. There's some that are reusable. I have a reusable one. So there's just like a cleaning process. You have to boil it. There's some things that we'll get into later when I share my practical tips around that. And then the specific cup that I have too also has like this tab at the bottom, which will be very important to the story later.
Yes.
And so that's it's because it seals up in your vagina. And so the tab helps to break that seal when you're ready to pull it out, and just like to have something to grab onto as you pull it out. So yeah, that's just what a menstrual cup is.
Awesome. Thank you. I just figured there might be somebody here listening that's like, I have no idea what that even is. So
That's fair. We did have to do a whole demonstration when I was telling you last time on how it works
Yes.
and all of those things.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, so I've been using it for 1.5 years. Love it. I really only use it. So my periods on average, fun fact about me, are about 6 to 7 days. And so
Very
I
nice.
typically use it day like 1 to 4, 1 to 3-ish is kind of my window. Just on those heavier days, and then the other days I can get away with like just a little liner. So anyway, so I was traveling for my job. I had some meetings and was kind of like working remotely on this day, the day that you and I were supposed to meet. And I was staying with my grandparents. And so that was about an hour from where I needed to get to my meeting. And it was about day 3, I believe, of my cycle. So I really had wrapped up the heavy. It was kind of that in-between day of like, I could use the cup, but it's not totally enough blood to justify that. But like, I would really be going through a lot of liners if I like didn't put anything in. So usually on this day, I would put one in, have no problems. But I was running a little late for my meeting, and I had to get going. So I was in a bit of a hurry, and things were a little dry down there because I had just woken up. And so, like, I didn't really have any blood actively coming out because
Right.
it was the morning.
Right.
And I also just, like, was on a lighter day. So it wasn't, like, that kind of constant flow. So I am in a hurry, kind of frantic, and I was just, like, really struggling. So for those who don't know, again, with your menstrual cup, there's some different folding methods that you do in order to insert it properly. And so I was just kind of struggling to get the fold right and struggling to get it in. And I was just like, whatever. So I pushed harder and I got it in. Unfortunately, it went in sideways. So the opening of the cup is on the side of it's inside of me at this point, but it's facing so that what I'm feeling and touching is just like the side of the cup. Yeah. The cup is just straight aimed at the side of the wall of my vagina.
So it has like been suctioned to the side of like.
I don't even know if it had suctioned yet. It just was like barely in there. And I was like,
but
okay,
it's not in there correctly. And that's
it's not in there correctly. It's deeply uncomfortable right now. And I go to adjust because I'm like, oh, sweet. I'll just turn it and like, it'll be fine. Well, I go to turn it and instead of flipping the correct way, it flips upside down. So now I have this cup in me and the tab is pointing straight up at my cervix.
Which is the tab that normally you would grab to pull
That is
out.
normally what's sticking out and like at the edge where I can touch.
Yeah.
And the opening of the cup that collects the blood is now the part that is aimed at my vagina, outside, aimed at my underwear.
Yep.
And it hurts. It's uncomfortable. I wouldn't say it's like painful. It's just like I'm cramping basically. And like things are just like not happy down there.
Right.
And I'm starting to panic, but I also know that when I panic, my muscles down there tense, which is going to make everything worse.
Right.
So we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll just pull it out. No big deal. We'll pull it out and start over. But also I'm running late. So again, we're still trying to hurry. And I go to do that. And I'm like, great. I can feel it. I can touch it. I know exactly what's going on. But unfortunately, again, I'm reaching from above, not below. So we have limited angles as to which we have access to the cup.
Right.
And it suctions. So it's suctioned in there. It suctions the wrong way, but it is still suctioned to the walls of my vagina. And I am pulling on it, or I'm attempting to pull on it. And I can reach it and I can touch it. But I can't quite contort my wrist in the ways that I need to be able to fully grab onto it and pull. Because also it's suctioned, so you need some force.
Right.
So I am like, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's stuck. What?
And meanwhile, too, like, aren't you running late for a meeting while
Yes.
all of this is happening?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am very late. So I, as anyone in my position would do, I turn to Google. I Google, what do I do? What's going on?
You should have asked ChatGPT. I would have been really interested to know.
Oh my gosh, I could only imagine the answers I would have gotten. Already on Google, like I'm going to the private browsing so it won't remember my search history, because the last thing I need is to be pulling up Google in front of someone, and that's my most recent search history.
Right.
So like we're thinking a few steps ahead. But anyway, now steps ahead to not
story
get
is
stuck
for everybody to know.
Yes. So I am frantically Googling, and it's like, try standing in these different positions so you have better access and all of these things. Nothing is working. And like, I've tried everything. I'm like, okay, I have to get someone to pull this out.
But the fact that you were able to find on Google like an answer to this problem, even though it didn't work for you, means other women have had this problem.
So
other women have experienced
There's multiple Reddit threads on it. Like, I'm on Reddit, like all the things. So I'm like, okay, I can ask my grandma, or I can ask one of my cousins that I am very close to, who like lives down the street from my grandparents.
And those are the only two people that are around you that you know.
The only people around me that I also am like close enough that I would even be willing to ask. Like it's where most of my extended family lives, was where I was staying. And so there are some more people I could ask, but like, we don't have a close enough relationship to even consider.
Was your grandma really on the list of we have a close enough relationship to ask?
She was an immediate no. She was just there. Like, she's standing in the kitchen making breakfast while I'm in the bathroom having this full panic. And I was like, okay, so I need to get this out right now and I need help. Like, she's the woman. But I love my grandma, and she probably would have said yes. But, like, I'm so sorry. I'm not asking my grandma to pull a menstrual cup out of my vagina. Like, I love her, but no. So that was an immediate no. So I'm like, okay, Allison, buck up. You got to go ask your cousin. Like, buck up. Go ask her. She had recently had a baby, so I was like,
she knows everything down there.
She's familiar. It's okay. Yes. And honestly, truly, I think if I had asked her, she would have been like, okay, let's do this. But so I'm sitting there trying to convince myself to do it, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. There's no coming back from that. there is no coming back from her seeing what she's about to see.
Yeah. And this is what I said last time too when you first told me the story. Like, I wish I had a friend. I almost wish I was in this experience so that I could really experience that bonding moment with a friend, because you don't come back from that. You really don't. And so
I
it's
know.
like,
And so my college best friend, which we live very far away now, had I still been living with her, I would have called her in a heartbeat, and she would have been there and she would have done it. Like, no questions asked. We just like have that level of a relationship. Like, we were roommates for 4 years. Like, she would have no issues. And I know
this is the kind of friendship that everybody needs. Somebody who would literally pull a menstrual cup out of your vagina. Like, that is the level of friendship that everyone deserves.
The other people that, again, so my mom was not near me at the time, and neither was my sister. My sister, honestly, I don't know. I think I would ask her, but like, I probably would have to convince her a little bit. My mom, I would have been like, you birthed me. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. I was inside of you at one point. Like, I'm so sorry. This is just part of being a mom. Like, I'm so sorry. But like, this is it.
Imagine if that was on the list of duties of motherhood, pulling a menstrual cup out of your adult child's vagina.
I mean, she's the one who taught me how to use a tampon. Like, she's the one who taught me everything I know about periods. So like, we've been there. So like.
But your mom was not in the same state, so you couldn't ask her.
She was not, and neither is my college best friend. So they were not an option. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to urgent care. Well, first I Googled, is this an ER visit? Is this urgent care? Because I would prefer to go to urgent care because this doesn't feel like a life or death situation. But also, I don't know. I feel like you go to urgent care for a cough or a sinus infection. Haven't really heard of anyone going because they got something stuck in their vagina.
I think if you were to ask an urgent care doctor, they might say differently, but
it worked out for me. So everything I read on Google was like, go to urgent care. And I was like, perfect. The wait will probably be shorter. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but remind you, I have this meeting, and I have this meeting in the morning. And this is the entire reason that I am I'm in a different state than I work in and live in, so that I could like go to this meeting. I was staying with some family, and like I was working remotely that day. It was the whole point. And so I was like, I'm going to this meeting. Like, I'm not, whatever. And I'm not in serious pain. And I was like, it can wait. It can wait. So
Mistake number 15.
So I drive an hour to this meeting. And I mean,
with menstrual cup still in.
With the menstrual cup still stuck. It is still upside down. And at this point, I wasn't really in a lot of pain. I mean, it was like kind of it kind of felt like when you insert a tampon wrong. Like, I feel like that's probably a more universal experience as a woman that people would know. And so it kind of was just like, something's a little off, but like, whatever. And so I drive the hour. I called some of my friends and was like, you're never going to believe what's going on right now. They're dying laughing. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And they're like, Allison, you have to go to urgent care right now. And I'm like, no, I'm going to my meeting. I'll go to urgent care later. So I go to my meeting. I'm there for like about an hour, almost an hour and a half. And the meeting's kind of like wrapping itself up. And then I'm like suddenly super uncomfortable, and just like we're like starting to full on cramp. And I'm like, I have got to get my butt to urgent care. So I quickly wrap up that meeting while also trying not to be like, and just be like, oh, I have like another appointment to get to, because I'm not about to be
not a lie.
Which is not a lie. And I'm like, not going to be like, oh, I got to go quick run to urgent care. Because they're going to be like, why? And I'm going to be like, so I know this is a super professional meeting, but there's a menstrual cup stuck in my vagina. And I got to go get it pulled out. So that was not what I said. I want to be very clear on that. That is not what I said.
Yeah.
I said I have an appointment to go to. It was great to meet you. I will email you later. So we said our goodbyes. I jet off. And at this point, like, I'm pretty uncomfortable. So I go to urgent care, which was like a quick 10-minute drive. And so also for context, where I had this meeting and where I went to urgent care is my hometown. It's where I grew up. So I'm familiar. I know what's going on. That's why it was like a comfort level for me to also like go to urgent care. If it had been where I like currently live and work, which is a new city to me, I don't know that I would have necessarily been as willing to go to urgent care. But I've been to this urgent care many times. I was like, great, let's go. So I get there and I'm rushing around and I go up to the front desk and they have, as most hospitals and urgent cares do now, they have the like glass standing in front of the receptionist just to like help with germs and kind of like the post-COVID thing. Yep. And the lady's like, oh, hi, like, what's your name, birth date, all the information, like, all that. And she's like, okay, like, what are you here for? And I just kind of look at her. And the desk isn't, like, super close to, like, the waiting room necessarily. But it's not far. And, like, in order to, like, project over the glass, like, I would have had to announce what I was here for to the whole waiting room. So I kind of point and I'm like, can I like lean over to the side? And she's like, yeah, sure, what's up? And so I lean over the side and I whisper and I'm like, there's a menstrual cup stuck in my vagina. And she just goes, oh, okay. And like types it in. And she goes, okay, well, and so she points over to one waiting room where everyone is coughing, sneezing, puking with puke buckets, like the whole 9 yards. And she's like, that's the sick waiting room. If you would like to take a step over here to this other waiting room, that's where you can go. And I was like, great. Because this also took place in late January where there was the major influenza A spike.
Yep.
So everyone is all over the place. I'm like, great. The last thing I want to do is, because I'm here from a menstrual cup, get the flu. So like, great. And I just was like, out of curiosity, like, can you tell me, like, how long of a wait or, like, how many? And she's like, well, there's 15 people ahead of you. And I'm like, okay.
Such a bummer.
Okay, I can do this. Like, I'm not in that. I'm like, I'm starting to get uncomfortable, but, like, whatever. I'm sure it won't get worse. So I go sit down, and this is at the point as to which I text Haley, and I say, hey, I got to make an unexpected doctor appointment. So sorry. I'll explain later. I'm okay. Everything's okay. Whatever. Because I was a little overwhelmed. I was trying to get my day restructured, keep up with work, get this thing out of me. And so I was like, she'll understand. I will text her about rescheduling tomorrow.
Yep. Let's cancel all non-urgent things.
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
Focus.
Yes.
Better focus on what's important right now.
Yep. So I'm like, okay, great. I got time to kill till my name gets called. So I had my laptop with me. I pull up my computer. I'm answering emails. I'm working, doing the whole 9 yards. And then I sit there for about 2 hours waiting.
Okay. So when we're at this point, how long had it been since you got the thing stuck? Like
so
4 hours
before I got called back, I got it stuck. Then I drove an hour, had an hour and a half meeting. We're going on like 4 to 5 hours that this menstrual cup has been stuck in my body incorrectly. So by the time they were like about to call me back, so I like was working, and then I got so uncomfortable, like I couldn't sit and I couldn't focus on work. So I then called one of my friends that I hadn't told the story yet, because I was like, I gotta take my mind off this. So I'm on the phone with one of my friends, pacing up and down the waiting room, because like the movement's kind of helping. But like, okay, one caveat we have not discussed. I'm still bleeding. Like, I'm still actively on my period, and therefore it's not like you can control it. And the thing that should be collecting it is upside down. So the cup's not collecting it. Like, I'm still bleeding through everything because it's just going around the cup. So
Yep.
it's stopping and like slowing it, but like there's still blood dripping out. So I'm
Yep.
also just like, and I put a liner on, put a pad on.
Right.
So I'm still actively bleeding also.
So it's just like a whole mess. Like
It's a
like
whole
legitimately
mess.
just a mess. Yeah.
It's a giant mess down there. So I'm pacing on the floor with my friend. They finally call my name. I quickly hang up. The nurse takes me back, takes my weight, measures me, like the whole thing, takes me back to an exam room, and like asks me all the like typical questions, whatever. And she's like, so like, what are you here for? And I was like, there's a menstrual cup stuck in my vagina. And she's like, okay, that's what was written down, but just like double checking. And she's like, I requested a female doctor for you. And I went, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Crazy to do this.
Because I'm not ready for anyone else to go down there, much less a guy. And I know
Right.
doctors are doctors. People are going to say doctors are doctors. I get it, but
Yeah.
still. Like,
But there's something
still.
about this.
There's
Yeah.
still something about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm also like, I'm there by myself. Like, it's just not that I would totally want someone there with me, but like, I kind of wanted someone there with me, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the nurse leaves. 45 more minutes goes by.
Oh my
And
God.
by this point, like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, we're on hour 5. Like, this has been stuck for 5 hours. My cervix is irritated. My vagina is done. Like, it is just done. Because also, like, it's being opened. Like,
Right.
it's being held open. Like, the opening of the cup, it's not that big, but it's bigger than nothing, which is what's
Right.
normally in my vagina.
Can I also just preface this with saying you do not have any children?
No.
You've never birthed anything in your life.
No, nothing has been stretched out down there.
So this
Or
is just
changed.
generally uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So very uncomfortable. And so finally the doctor comes in, and she had like her nurse assistant. Like, it was a different nurse assistant. I don't know if it was I don't know. It's a little bit of a blur. Don't remember her exact title. But anyway, so they come in and they're like, okay, like, we're gonna do this, like, whatever. And like, I haven't been instructed to like change or put a gown or anything, whatever. And so they're like, I'm just like weirdly standing around, and I'm like, well, like, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll step out for a second. You can take your pants off and like put the sheet over you and like get up on the table, and like we'll go for it. But again, I'm still bleeding. Like, I just feel like we need to remind everyone, I'm still actively bleeding. So whatever, I do that. They come back in, and when they come back in the second time, they look at me and they're like, we are so excited. Like, I kid you not, I thought they wanted to physically jump for joy. They are jazzed about pulling this out of my body. And I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you people? And they're like, we have seen 21 flu patients today.
Yeah.
Thank you for being something different. They're like, we get so excited when we get a UTI or something different because it's all flu patients right now. And I'm like, well, you're
welcome.
And also, like, this hurts. Please help me. And like, I was just stunned. I don't even know what I said. I was just stunned because when I tell you, they wanted to jump. They were so excited. It wasn't like, oh, this is just like such a reprieve. Like, they were genuinely jazzed. And also, then they start going, they're like, I've never seen a menstrual cup. Like, I can't wait to like see what it looks like. Like, what does it look like? What color is it? What's like, we're just like so excited to see it. And I'm like, one, you're medical professionals. Like, I feel like you should know what a menstrual cup looks like. And you're both women. Like, this is not that unheard of.
Yeah.
Menstrual cups have been around for a while at this point. And also, I'm like, I happy to provide an education. Like, I don't know that I would be excited to see the cup. It's currently stuck inside of me. Like, not exactly
It
given
should be
like
a free visit. You're doing more for them than they are doing for
that's
you.
what it felt like. that's what it felt like. So, which I will also preface, I, like, praise be to Jesus, have had a pap smear before. Because, again, like, I haven't birthed children. I haven't, like, been pregnant before, any of that stuff. So, like, it's new to me to have someone poking and prodding down there. But thank goodness I've had at least a pap smear. So, like, I at least at one point in my life have, like, had someone down there understand at least a little bit what's about to happen.
Right.
So, they put my legs in the stirrups. They get a light out. They're both just, like, focused in on my vagina down there. Everyone's just, Allison is just open to the world. And everyone's just staring at her. And I'm like, this is awful. This is awful. So they're like, okay, we're gonna, like, I don't know how I would describe the medical instrument they use. It's like a long scissors, tweezers thing. Like, I've seen it in Grey's Anatomy.
Like the clamp thing, like the duckbill thing that they use to open. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they use that, but they use, like, something to grab it. So they, like, use that to, like, open, to, like, hold it open. Not that they really need to hold it open, because the cup is holding it open plenty itself. So it just is, like, being opened even further to get around the cup.
Yep.
And so she goes in, and more things have to go in order for it to come out. It hurts. I'm so uncomfortable, and also I'm nervous, and, like, it's not the most comfortable thing to have someone staring at your vagina. So those muscles are tensing because I'm nervous, which is making everything worse. But how do you relax? How do you relax? That's an impossible situation to relax in.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm, like, doing my best to relax. They're poking and prodding down there, and they're like, oh, is it black? I was like, yep, it is black in color. I was like, what else do you think is in there? I'm so sorry. Whatever you're encountering.
Are you struggling to identify it?
Which I guess if you've never seen a menstrual cup before, like, fair question. But I'm like, yep, that's it. Yep. Just pull it out. And so, again, it's silicone, and this was so wise of her, and I'm so appreciative of it, but it made my life hell. And that is, she had to pull it out slowly because she didn't want to rip it.
Yep. Which
I appreciate, because had it ripped or any pieces of it fallen apart, then, you know, we could have escalated to surgery at some point, because now that is lost in my vagina. It is possibly going into my cervix, like, all of those things.
Foreign objects where they shouldn't be. I mean, this whole thing is foreign object where it shouldn't be, but that's even worse. Yeah.
Yep. So she has to pull it out slowly. So, like, imagine it's like, you know, just rip off the Band-Aid, but when you slowly rip the Band-Aid off and feel each hair as it lifts off your skin.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's what was going on in my vagina. And so I am, like, clenching my fists, like groaning in pain, and they're like, we're, like, trying to talk me through it. And I'm like, just pull it out. Just pull it out. Just pull it. Just pull. I can feel it. Just pull it out.
Yep.
Gets it out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, still bleeding. And it's as if a dam has been let loose, because the dam has now been removed. And the dam was not holding anything into itself, was just a pure blockage.
Yep.
So this doctor takes it in, like, the giant tweezers she has, basically, holds it up in the air, and goes, look at it. So when she flicks her wrist up to it, blood dumps all over her and the floor. Like, I'm talking all over her pants, all over her shoes. And not that much blood, but, like, it's another, like, that's, like, sanitary rule number 1 is you don't get someone else's blood on you, because, like, you never know.
And how does she not think that
I
there's
don't know. I don't
be blood here.
I don't know. So she holds it up proudly in the air, gets blood all over herself, all over the floor in front of the exam table, and goes, "Oh my gosh!" And then the nurse goes, "You told me to be careful and then you did it." And they both erupt in laughter. They start dying laughing to the point that her hand that is not holding my cup, she grabs onto my foot, lays her head onto my feet and leg, and just is like absolutely almost in tears, hysterically laughing.
Meanwhile, your legs are
I'm still spread
eagle
on the exam room table. The light is still shining at my vagina while this woman that I don't know, that I met 5 minutes ago,
I don't know if that makes it better or worse. Yeah.
I don't know, but she's laying on my foot. I can't even close my knees because my legs are in the stirrups and she's holding my leg. So she's holding it open. And I'm like, this is so violated on so many levels. And meanwhile, so I can barely even just like sit up because like my legs, whatever. But I sit up enough to see all the blood on her and the like droplets of blood all over the floor now too that she got everywhere. And she's just dying laughing. And I'm just stunned. I just sat there stunned because I was like, can I close my legs now? Like, will you get off of me? Will you get off of me? So then she kind of like starts to clean herself off or whatever. And I'm like, do I apologize? Do I like whatever? Like, it is my blood. So like, so sorry. But also like, you flicked it everywhere. So like, not quite sure. Like, you were I'm on my period. That's why I put the cup in there in the first place. I'm still bleeding.
Right.
I'm still bleeding. So after they finally recover from their beautiful laughing fit, and she lets go of me, I promptly close my legs and sit up. And I'm just like, overall at this point, just like sore and tender down there. Like, the pain's finally gone. Like, once it got out, it was like, okay, I can breathe. And so that's whatever. And then they go, "Oh, would you like to take it home?" And I would say, and I was immediately like, yes, please. I want this because I am still very adamant that I will continue to use a menstrual cup.
And this is the part of the story when the first time she told this to me, this is where I went, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, why would you ever put that thing back up in you? So I'll just insert that commentary. You keep going.
So all of my friends have said the same thing at this point because they're like, "Allison, are you finally going to be done with this now?" And I'm like, "No, I'm keeping it. Like, this was my bad. Like, whatever. I still fully believe in this. This was user error. Whoops. No big deal. We got it fixed. It's out now. I'm fine." So they pack it up in a nice little biohazard bag for me. And then as, like, again, she's still trying to, like, get her blood, and she goes, "Well, I guess I got to go change." Again, all on you. I really don't feel bad. Like, I felt like she kind of wanted me to feel bad, and I was like, you spilt my blood on you. And then you laughed at my feet.
Feel bad?
Well, kind of, because she was like, she was just like, well, how am I going to change? And how am I going to all these things? I'm like, don't know, not my problem. Like, can I put my pants on now? Like, will you leave, please? Like, I just paid this urgent care to pull something out of my vagina. I would like to put my pants on and go home.
Yeah.
So, so they pack up my cup for me.
Biohazard bag.
My little biohazard bag. And then as they're kind of on their way out, they're like, "Oh, do you need a pad or anything like that?" And I'm like, "No, I have a liner in my underwear. I've been bleeding all day. I'm just going to go straight home and change my clothes anyway. I'm good." So they leave. I get dressed. And as I'm walking out the door with my little biohazard bag with my menstrual cup in it, And as I'm walking out the door, I see them like still laughing about it, like kind of telling some, like talking amongst each other about it, and like the doctor's still trying to clean the blood off of her shoes. And so I leave, I go home and like get myself cleaned up, change my clothes, and because I'm in work clothes, and so like that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And by the end of the night, I was totally fine. Like, things were just sore and tender. And so, like, by no means did I put it back in that same period or put a tampon in. We let
Good
everything have a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that day was great. All the things.
Great.
Move forward to my next period. And I have been talking this big game. Like, I'm going to use the cup again. And I get my period. And I go, I keep saying it's user error. And it was.
Yeah.
But the user is still the person inserting it every time. So, like, actually, the user error can happen every single time I insert this because I'm said user. Like, that's not changing.
Yep. That is an unchanging variable here.
Yep. So I bucked up and used it again, put it back in, and I've only had one period since the incident. And I can tell you this, on day 3 and 4, the cup was not used. When things were semi-dry, I could not work up the courage to put it back in. But I have successfully put it in 2 to 3 more times since then. No problems. I still fully support the menstrual cup, and I will continue to advocate for it. But I did, in fact, get it, and we haven't even touched that the menstrual cup has also given me 2 yeast infections.
Oh my gosh.
Prior to this. But again,
this is not boding well. This is not boding well for the menstrual cup. Yet you're sitting here going, but I am a heroic woman who still needs to use my menstrual cup because I have it.
Yes, and I still stand by it. I literally just had conversations with another woman this morning advocating for the menstrual cup, sending her the link to the one I use, and saying, it can happen. But
do you give a caveat now?
I do tell the story, and then most people are like, yeah, never was convinced, never will be convinced now. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I still use it, so like that's gotta say something. Maybe it says I'm dumb, but maybe it says it's worth it. I don't
know. Anybody who is listening right now, try it out. Just make sure you have a beloved sister or cousin available, readily available.
Yes, I will say the biggest sting was the first day of my next period when I had to use said menstrual cup was also the day I got my urgent care bill from my visit. Yep. And even with insurance, it was still a little hefty.
Yeah.
And did make me second guess going to ask my cousin to do it.
I was literally just going to ask, do you regret going there? I mean,
no,
you don't regret it.
No.
So going back, you would not have asked your cousin or your grandma.
No, I would never ask my grandma. Like, I love her, and that woman is a saint, and she is a fantastic woman who I aspire to be like every single day. But no.
That doesn't mean...
No. Also, like, my grandma's older, and she's shaky. Like, I don't know, that could also end poorly. Like, these are the things you gotta think of. This is a delicate issue. And, like, this is a one and done. Like, if someone is pulling this out of me, this is a one and done. Like, you were going in there once and you were coming out with it, or, like, we're never speaking again. Like, there's nothing.
So why wouldn't you ask your cousin at this point? Like, you're still hell-bent on saying, I swear by my decision to go to urgent care.
Because, well, one, this story is far better. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I guess
true.
it would also be a great story to be like, yeah, I went over to my cousin's house and she had to pull it out and detailing that. But
But the whole thing with the doctor and blood on her shoe and like raising it up like it was a victory trophy, like that
yes,
also.
and just
I
her
mean, I really
joy
hope
that I
that.
wasn't there with the flu, like, I don't know, that was priceless. That was priceless. I just think it was the best decision at the time because it just would have. I needed to go to urgent care once, at least, because I will make this caveat. If it gets stuck again, we're probably tapping out on the menstrual cup. Like, I don't think this is a 3 strikes you're out
Probably,
situation.
probably. That.
I mean, I can't say for sure. Like,
Oh
I don't
my
know how I'll
God.
feel about it. Because, again, learning experience. Now I know if I'm not getting the fold right, maybe we switch to a tampon. Maybe we switch to a
Maybe.
liner.
Or maybe
Or
we
we
just
just,
leave
like,
it there for right now.
maybe we make a different decision. We're a little more cautious when things are a little drier and knowing that, like, it's not going to
Okay.
slide in there very kindly and it could get stuck, as we have
Yes.
seen.
Yeah.
So I guess it would depend how and why it got stuck. Like, if it was the same situation again, then it would be like, okay, clearly this is just going to keep happening to me every so often. And one, I can't afford to pay this urgent care bill every couple months.
True that. Yep.
And two, I can't ask my friends to do this frequently because, like, again, like, I just not.
Yeah.
Not.
Like that is the type of thing where if I were to have gotten that call from you, the first time I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, Allison, I will help you." Like, yes, just come over. We're doing this. If I got that call a second time, I would be like, "What the hell, Allison?" Like,
Yes,
and
like, you would
then
have
if
pulled
it
out,
happened,
you would just promptly throw it in the trash. Like, you
if
just
it
wouldn't.
happened a third time, I would tell you to go somewhere else.
Oh my gosh. I
No,
mean,
I'm
fair,
kidding. But
fair. But that's fair. That's totally valid. And all I can say is if a friend comes to you and says, hey, my menstrual cup is stuck, I need you to pull it out, just know the courage that it took her to ask you
yes.
and just say,
Yes.
yes, let me wash my hands. Like, that is the only appropriate response to that. And I mean, I pray, and I think my friends are far too scarred from my stories who ever use a menstrual cup to be in that situation.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
But I would be willing, and I would happily be someone's first call to say, I need you to come over. And I would say, sure, I will be right over.
Yep.
Or I would say, come on over. I will have
Come
it
on.
ready. Just stand, like, sit in the bathtub. Let me wash my hands. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Oh my
But just,
gosh.
like, also, we can probably never speak about this again.
Yeah. This is in the vault. It is in the absolute vault. But actually, though, now it's for everyone to hear.
Yes! I, however, have chosen, why not put this on the internet? Because that feels like, because honestly, we're demystifying the menstrual cup. And we're saying sometimes it gets stuck, and sometimes we say, who cares? Use it again. Just be smarter.
Just be smarter next time.
Just be
Just
smarter.
be smarter next time. Well, so when she told me this story, the most surprising thing to me was you are going to use this thing again. And then not only are you using this thing again, but you've decided to take the same one that you brought home in your
Well,
biohazard
absolutely.
bag. And use the same one. So I asked Allison then, after she shared this story, for listeners who are hearing this and thinking, maybe that is something I'll try. I don't know.
If this is a story that told you to try this, I might have other questions for you, but then again, I'm the one still using it. So, like, I see you, sister. I see you.
Yes. Yeah. So I asked Allison to come up just with 3 practical tips of
Mhm.
ways to use the menstrual cup well, to get all of the benefits of the menstrual cup without the urgent care bill. So, can you give us 3 practical tips in using the menstrual cup?
Absolutely. Okay. Tip number 1. And now this is based off of my 1.5 year experience, not just this visit, because as I noted before, it has given me 2 yeast infections. So,
Yeah.
tip number 1, never, ever, and I mean never, store it in a plastic bag. It
Ooh.
will grow bacteria. It will give you a yeast infection. I have done that not once, but twice.
Oh, man.
And although it comes in this cloth bag that feels unsanitary, and you're like, the plastic bag is far more sanitary, even if you boil it, will give you a yeast infection. So
the first time you got the yeast infection, you boiled it after that and thought that was going to be enough.
Yes.
To get
now, I don't think I
bacteria.
boiled it properly or like for long enough, because again, I was still learning how to use it, and this was like after my second period. Or no, this would have been going into my second period. After I wrapped up that period, I got a yeast infection.
Yeah.
Then I boiled the cup to use it a third time, got a second yeast infection, because tip number 2, if you get a UTI, a yeast infection, and anything down there, and you have used that cup ever, even if it's not necessarily what gave it to you, throw the cup away. It says it in the fine print. It took experience
that should not
before
be fine print. That should
before
be
I learned it.
Bold print.
I got a secondary yeast infection because you can just like never quite get it out of there. So throw it away. And if you would like to keep using it, buy a new one. They're not that expensive considering the money you save in tampons. So you need to buy a new one. Even if you get a UTI, anything, throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away. If it has been in the vicinity around the time you've gotten anything, throw it away.
Got it. Yes.
Got it. And tip number 3, do not force it. If you are struggling to have the folds held rightly, if you are struggling to get it in because things are just a little dry, take that as a hint. No, it can go in wrong. It will go in wrong. And it will cost you hundreds of dollars at urgent care to get it pulled out, or possibly cost you a friendship. So,
or if you want to grow in friendship with someone, though, because it could do both.
It could do both.
But it's a toss-up.
Caution. Exercise caution. So, to recap, never store in plastic. Buy a new one if you get anything going on down there.
Yep.
Don't force it.
Don't force it. Also, this might be like a 3B, but don't be in a hurry when you put it in.
Yes. That goes out. Yes. Don't just listen to your body. Listen to the cup. And if you're just struggling, just know that maybe today we don't. Maybe today, or we come back later. You know, like we finish getting ready and we try again.
Yeah.
Patience.
And you said there's different folds to like put it in.
Yes.
Can you explain that really quick? Because I am also not a menstrual cup user. Now, granted, I've had 3 kids in 5 years, so I've probably had like 5 periods in the last 5 years.
This is true. Is true.
So I don't currently use a menstrual cup. So this is like really the first experience I've had, really detailed experience I've had of like picturing a menstrual cup. But she told me about these folds and I'm like, what does that even mean? So I need you to explain that.
Okay. I don't remember. I think mine is called the C fold that I use. But at least the menstrual cup, the brand that I chose to go with, it and every brand might be a little different. In the like instruction packet, it came with all of these folds and like how to do them and like all these things. I took the simplest one and found it to be the most effective. Because imagine, right, you want to get the cup in and you need the opening to be up top, as it should be, not the tab up top, as we have learned. And so, like, you, that obviously doesn't just, like, plop in. Like, you can't just, like, slide it in while it's fully open.
No.
So what you do is, like, that kind of outer rim and that top part, you fold it in these different ways so that you can insert it. And then once it's inserted, then it opens up inside as it, like, has the space to open up as you get it far enough in. And then it suctions in.
Like right up to your cervix, right?
Yes.
Like is where it suctions so that it's catching all the blood from the cervix. Yeah.
It's just below that. So then it has like a seal to it. And then mine has like a tab at the bottom. So you kind of pull on the tab and that breaks the seal when you're ready to take it out.
Yeah.
So mine is like a C fold. So if you imagine the circle, you just take one side of it and push it to the very upper side of it, curl those folded edges around and down so that you kind of have this like pointed top. And so then you can start with inserting that in there because that will actually fit in your vagina initially. And then you just kind of push on the rest of it and then it plops open. And then you can kind of adjust based on comfort level and because there's different sizes of menstrual cups some companies have of
that makes sense.
Depending on flow. And I'm sure, again, like if you've had babies, like a different size as things have expanded and stretched and like that kind of stuff to make sure that it's able to properly seal around the walls of your vagina.
Right.
And then just below your cervix. And then, so you can kind of adjust like sometimes like I don't quite get it far enough in, so I'll have to give it a little push from the bottom to inch it up a little bit. So because I measure like the tab, I know how it's in properly based on like how much the tab is sticking out or not sticking out.
Gotcha. And that's just because you've become familiar. Well, you've become really familiar with it.
I've become very familiar.
So you just become like familiar with how it feels.
The advice my friend gave me when I first started was, she's like, you shouldn't be able to feel it. Just like a tampon. When you can feel a tampon, that's how you know it's in wrong. And so this kind of thing of like, if you can't feel it. So I noticed like you can feel when it's hanging too low because the bottom of the cup there, like you can kind of feel it on like in your vagina and you're like, it feels like I need to, like I feel like I can't close my legs together or like that kind of thing. You can feel that just like uncomfortableness or like it just feels like it's about to fall out at any minute.
Well, because it's not like a string like a tampon. It's like the whole thing is silicone and it's like thick silicone. So which is why having it upside down
was painful
on your cervix.
Yes.
Because there's a tab there that's made of silicone. Yeah. I'll let the imagination take over.
Things were poking at places they did not belong poking.
Yes. To sum it up. Oh, my word. Oh, Allison, this is so wonderful. I'm so grateful for you and just your desire for the world to experience joy.
I mean, that is truly what this story has been for everyone in my life. Like, I know everyone's like probably thinking I'm a little crazy that I went on the internet to share this, but like, you guys, I have told everybody that it is like remotely makes sense for me to tell. Like, I mean, am I telling the men in my life? Absolutely not. But I have shared this story with all of my friends, with my mom, with my sister. Actually, the two people I haven't told are my cousin and my grandma. Because
you have not told your cousin? No. I didn't realize that.
Because I just like, I don't know, they're kind of a key plot in the story. And so I just like haven't been like, oh, I should. It's just like, I don't know, it's just a little awkward how that might feel. So, because I also know, like, I have a feeling they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Allison, you should have. Like, I totally would have just pulled it out and whatever. And I just, like, don't know how to explain and be like, I love you so much. And that is exactly why I couldn't ask you. Like, when I tell you, I sat in that bathroom staring at myself in the mirror, trying to hype myself up and saying, Allison, you can do this. You're a big girl. Put on your big girl pants. It's not a big deal. Like, it's stuck. You got to get it out. You have to get it out. And, like, just go ask. It's not hard. Like, the words will come out of your mouth. Just, like, go do it. And then I just sat there and I was like, I cannot go ask my cousin to do this. And my grandma's out of the question. Like, like, consider you're asking your grandma to do that. Like,
my grandma makes me cookies. She does not pull menstrual cups out of my vagina. Like, those are two different things that need to remain separate.
Yes.
Oh my word.
So yeah, I have not told them, but I've told pretty much anyone else who I am close enough to tell that story. Even if I'm like kind of not close enough to tell that story, it still kind of happened to some of them. But I have not told those two. So,
as I'm
happy to share.
as I'm thinking about it more, one day when I am a grandma, I actually hope that my granddaughter would feel comfortable asking that question to me. Like, I hope to be a cool enough grandma one day, like,
but my grandma is cool enough to do that. Like, she truly is. Like, she truly is a cool grandma. She has no hesitations and, like, would do anything for me. But, like, even you, Haley, again, we live states away right now, so, like, you were not remotely possible to be on the list. We are close. And, like, we talk NFP things. Like, everything about my body. I don't know that I could ask you to do it. Like, I don't know.
And I get it. And I'm not offended by that.
It's a very short list of people that I would let do that.
Yes.
And I think it includes my mom and my sister and my college best friend. And, like, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the list.
Yeah.
I think from there on out needs to be a random doctor I never need to see again.
Right.
Even if she has wild bedside manner. Like,
I think the moral of this story is I hope that everybody deserves a friend that they can ask that question to. It's just, that should be a rite of passage, like, just in life. Like, we women need
just as women, we need it.
Just one. Yeah, just one. I only need one other woman who I could say, this is what's happening right now. You need to help me.
Just even the consult. Like, I think we as women we need people for consults like this. Or the people that, like, you would be willing to tell the story to. Like,
Right.
I know I'm probably a little bit on the other spectrum of, like, I have no shame. Like, Haley asked me to come on this podcast, and I was like, I have no shame. I will announce this to the world, and I will happily admit it for everybody to hear.
Wonderful.
And, like, not saying you need to be able to do that, but the amount of joy I have brought my friends, because that day I called them, and I was like, do you want to hear the funniest story of your life? And they go, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm on my way to urgent care. And they're like, Allison, what? And I'm like, but it's funny. I have a menstrual cup stuck. And they go, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, all these things. Like, no, guys, this is hilarious. Let me tell you the story.
Well, and that wasn't even half the story. You didn't even know what was coming when you were on your way to urgent care.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Such an awesome story. Okay, let's go over the 3 practical tips again, just in case you missed it last time.
Yes.
Number one.
Do not store it in a plastic bag. You will get a yeast infection. Number 2, if you get a yeast infection or a UTI or anything of the sort, do not reuse the cup. Throw it away. Buy a new one if you still believe in it.
Yes, if you did not listen to number 1, then go to number 2. Yep.
Throw it away. Mm-hmm. Number 3, do not force it. It will get stuck. You will end up in urgent care or calling a friend. It does happen.
You have options.
you think it's just like a funny story that Allison has told. Let me just say, I never thought I would be one of those women, and here we are.
Yeah, you've lived it. You have lived to tell the tale.
I have.
I'm so grateful that you're telling the tale. Oh my gosh, Allison, thank you. I just want to thank you. I'm so grateful. And I really hope that, my podcast, this whole thing is about fertility, right? And I want to teach you the truth about your fertility. I want to teach you all the things about your fertility that your 5th grade health class failed to teach you and that you probably did not learn along the way. And so I just feel like this is just a truth about your fertility. The menstrual cup and proper ways to use them, and then a great story, maybe not a great story, a really unfortunately joyful story about
it's a great story. It's a fantastic story. I will be the old lady in the nursing home telling this story to my friends.
Yes.
And we will all be laughing.
Yeah. This is going to be the story that when you are a grandma one day, your grandkids are going to be like, we've heard this. It's going to be the story. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, I love it so much. Well, I think we'll wrap up there.
Yes.
Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Truth and Fertility podcast. If you are enjoying this content, it would be amazing if you could leave a 5-star review. That helps me tremendously to be able to continue to produce these episodes for you. Remember that these podcasts are available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon, and YouTube. And you can always go to my website, truthandfertility.com, to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you again next week.